Hello all and welcome to episode 100 of Parry's Pickups. Wow, so here we are, 100 episodes. I think when I started doing this video series, I didn't really think that far ahead to think that there could end up being 100 Parry's Pickups videos. And wow, it feels like a bit of a landmark, a bit of an achievement. So I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you for watching the videos. First of all, I really appreciate that. Over time they have evolved somewhat. Back in the beginning I would often just hold up a game and talk about I bought this and that, and yeah, personally I didn't think that was that interesting, and my desire was always to show gameplay footage. Unfortunately at the beginning I couldn't do that. I just didn't have the technology. I think, was it around about episode 50? I struggle to remember now. We got the video capture device, the Elgato capture device. So yeah, we got this little gem, and this has helped me out endlessly, along with my Mac setup, to offer gameplay footage, which may not necessarily sound like a big thing, but actually to do it, required a bit of effort. So I was happy to get there in the end. And then with the gameplay footage, the pickups sort of evolved into more of a mini review series. So after a while we settled on doing 3 games, not 3, I mean 4 games, and yeah, we did. We'll be doing little reviews of 4 games every week for a while now. I know there were periods where Parry's Pickups wasn't around. Maybe I think the longest period we went without a video was about a month. But just lately, since I've come back to the UK, I've been trying to get them out 1 a week. And I think at least since I've been back, I think it's mostly been 1 a week, if not always been 1 a week. So yeah, that's sort of taken its toll a little bit after a while, because there are other responsibilities I have to attend to, not just with Blast Process, which there are many videos to edit and quite a lot of content, especially recently. But also in life in general. Life has to take over from hobbies a little bit, and while I'll still be doing videos for Blast Process, I have to think about what are my priorities at the moment. And with that all out of the way, let's start talking about some games, which we've had, if you think about it, 4 episodes. Not 4 episodes, 4 games every episode, 100 episodes. Sometimes we've had more than 4 games. That's quite a lot of games. And we've got the last 4, and I'm going to finish on probably one of the most exciting games I've picked up recently. But I'm going to start with a game that's also worth your time, and that is Jurassic Park for the Game Gear. Now, initially I wasn't sure whether this was the same as the Master System version, which I already own and am reasonably familiar with. It is the same as the Master System version, however, you're playing as a different character. In the Master System version you play as Alan Grant. This you play as a female character. I'm not sure of her profession. I assume she's a similar profession like Alan Grant, an archaeologist who's been brought in this case, to capture the dinosaurs that have escaped from their pens. And this is a side-scrolling action game. It has some vehicle sequences as well. As you enter the game, you're given an overhead map where you can choose what levels you want to do. And before you actually end up in the action stage of the level, you do a sequence which is equally as action, I would say, where you're driving a vehicle, and you see this from the side. I'll show you footage obviously, and different dinosaurs attack the vehicle, and you have to try and fend them off. Now, it doesn't matter if you don't succeed and your vehicle loses all its energy, but you lose points and life when you go into the action stage. I always used to think in this game like you must defeat all the dinosaurs that try and attack you, and eventually a bigger dinosaur, a boss dinosaur, will try and attack you. If you can defeat that, you get extra points and you can go into the next level, hopefully with more health. But once you get into the level, it's a side scroller. You're tranquilizing dinosaurs, or alternatively selecting one of your other weapons. You have 3 in total. One's a bazooka, The other one, I can't quite remember what it is, but you have got 3, and also you can pick up health packs along the way. You have to remember to jump into the pause menu and select them though if you want to use them. Levels themselves have quite a bit of variety in them. There's a storm level, there's some interior levels like facility levels, rocky mountainsides, caverns. There's a nice lot of variety in the levels, and dinosaurs too. One of the most impressive parts of the game is seeing the Brachiosaurus, in all its glory. I mean, you'll dog through some as you play through the level. They're not usually aggressive animals, so you don't actually have to defeat the ones inside the level, but eventually you'll come to a boss at the end, which is quite impressive, I have to say. Generally, the graphics in this game are very good, and so is the music. It's got a lot of atmosphere to it, and the music is also another strong element of this game. So is the idea that you're picking 3 different weapons. There's some weapons work better on different enemies than other weapons, so there's a bit of strategy there. It's a really nicely done game. I think in general a lot of these Jurassic Park video games are well worth playing, and the Game Gear one is no exception, with that strange, odd curiosity that you don't play Alan Grant but you play as a named female character. I don't have the manual, so she could have a name, but she didn't look familiar to me. So yeah, I would recommend it. And another Game Gear game I will recommend is Batman Returns. Batman Returns, eh? So, again, this is available on the Master System, so if you don't have a Game Gear, you can experience that game that way on the Master System. And it's another side-scroller. It's similar to Jurassic Park in a way, but it's Batman flavoured. Not literally. I can't chew on this and taste Batman. Not that I know what Batman tasted like, particularly. But it's another quality game. And what to say about this game? It's very playable. You also have a grappling hook as well, a similar way to Bionic Commando. So that comes into play quite heavily in the game's levels. Enemies are Penguin's sort of cohort of like carnival type characters. I think they're Penguin's henchmen. I'm not 100% sure, it's been a while since I've seen the film, but also the little penguins appear as well in the game as enemies firing off rockets. You can't kill the penguins, so you know this game doesn't endorse any sort of animal cruelty, unlike Jurassic Park. But I mean, yeah, you are blowing up dinosaurs with bazookas at some points, it feels like. So that whole idea of saving them and tranquilizing them, sort of, yeah. Anyway, moving on to Batman. So nice lot of variety in the levels, nice boss fights, fight Catwoman, you fight some weird rock monster at one point, which, you know, is just the typical video game type boss. It's got great music, again, like Jurassic Park. It's another one of those fantastic classic 8-bit Game Gear Master System games, which I would heartily recommend. It's got a good challenge, but not too hard. It's got the grappling, you've got the batarang when you're fighting close quarters. It's got some really clever ideas. It may initially seem quite simple and straightforward, but once you get past the first level, the levels sort of open up a bit, and the grappling becomes more important to the gameplay. And also there's 2 different routes. Now, whenever you go onto a level, you can choose 2 different routes to go through it. They're not so different from each other, but different enough to offer some more variety and replayability to the game, so it's also got that going for it as well. So I would recommend Batman Returns for the Game Gear, and Master System for that matter. So we can't have an episode of Parry's Pickups, especially not the last one, without talking about Tetris, and this is Super Tetris 3. So there's been a few Tetris games on the Super Nintendo. You can get Tetris and Dr. Mario. You can get Super Tetris 2 plus Bomb Bliss, which we've covered before. You can get this, Tetris 3, and Tetris Battle Gaiden 2, which has a lot of multiplayer Tetris modes. This one gives you standard game of Tetris, of course, and just like Super Tetris 2, it's very solid. There's some more variety in the backgrounds and music, which is really nice, and it has got that Russian flavour that Super Tetris 2 was lacking somewhat. So in many ways I'd say this was the ultimate Tetris for the Super Nintendo, because you not only have the regular Tetris game, you get two other variations on Tetris, which for my money are better than Bombliss. You've got Magicalist, which has a really neat idea. You can change the colour of the pieces, and usually the colour of the pieces in Tetris doesn't really matter, but in this game they do, because also while you're playing, all black or greyish, strangely shaped blocks will fall. These can't be destroyed normally. They have to be destroyed by creating a line of the same colour. So, how you change the colour of the blocks is you turn them, and there's a little meter on the side of the screen that shows you what colour you're going to end up with. So you turn and turn and turn, and try and turn them quick enough to line them up to create a line to get rid of any of the blocks, the darker blocks that are in your way. Because they stop you, well, they're going to raise your levels on the board there, so, and prevent you from getting high scores. So that is a really cool mode, and it did take me a while, along with my friend Gareth, to work out how Magicalist was actually working. But it's a fun variation on Tetris. There's also Sparkalist, which, despite its name, it sounds very cute and cuddly. The presentation is quite different. It's all dragons, knights, and warrior women, and exciting music and presentation. And in that mode, you have to create chain reactions. So, like Bombliss, some of the Tetris pieces contain little bombs. And if you can kind of place your bombs in the right places to cover most of the playing field, again, this is quite hard to explain. When you get a line, you can create, and you have some bombs on the line, you can create a chain reaction. You have those bombs, which in turn fire off sparkles, I guess, which explode other bombs. And you've got to think about the trajectory of the bombs that you're exploding and how they might hit other bombs in order to clear all the pieces. Once you clear all the pieces, you move on. It comes in two variations. There's a contest mode and a puzzle mode. The puzzle mode, you have more limited blocks to deal with. You do have limited blocks in contest, but also in the puzzle mode, the blocks are more limited, and you're given, you know, when you enter the level, it's not always just there's no blocks there. Sometimes there's already blocks there. You've got to work out how best to place your blocks against the blocks that are already there. It's a really fun mode, and just like Super Tetris 2, you can have multiple save files, so save all your high scores to your name. There's also a mode called Family I think it's called, which is a multiplayer mode for up to 4 players. Which, you know, I've yet to try out, but that could be rather interesting. So, as Tetris packages go, Super Tetris 3 is one of the best I've ever played. I got this for around about £10-ish unboxed. Some of the box copies of this were going for a bit more. I didn't really want to spend too much on it, having already bought a copy of Super Tetris Plus box. That was about £10 just for that. So I'm happy to have this game, even if it's only in cartridge form, and happy to add it to the Tetris collection. I still haven't got Tetris Battle Guidance, so I may get that in future, and I'll certainly share a picture on Instagram if I do happen to get that game. Now, here it is. And what better game to have as the final game of Parry's Pickups as one of my all-time favourite, which has just been re-released on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. I think you know what it is already. It is Shenmue 1 and 2. Oh, Shenmue. One of my favourite game experiences. There's nothing quite like it, especially the first one. I'm very partial to the first one, even though it is a reasonably quiet game. It's not certainly got the scope of Shenmue 2, the size of that game, but it's like coming home for me. It's a very comforting experience playing the original Shenmue. I think there's something about its pace, its characters, its presentation, its beautiful soundtrack. its quirky voice acting. I'm not usually one for games with a lack of action. Now, Shenmue does contain action, sometimes in the form of quick time events and also in the form of fights. And the fighting system, in Shenmue is very similar to Virtua Fighter. Of course, it was created by Yu Suzuki and developed originally by, I think it would have been developed. That's a good question, actually, because AM2 was Yu Suzuki's company, did Virtua Fighter. I think that's correct. And some of the great arcade games, two of which are featured on here, Space Harrier and Hang-On, which you can play in the virtual arcades within the game. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot to say about this game, but what is it? For those unfamiliar with Shenmue, what kind of game is it, you may be wondering? Well, it's a huge open world adventure game. I say huge, Shenmue 1 isn't so huge. There are several different areas. There's your home, there's a small area before you get into the town, there's the town, and then there's the harbour, and they're the main areas of Shenmue 1. Within those places there's shops, there are buildings that you can enter, and lots of NPCs that you can talk to. You can visit shops and buy objects and buy gacha toys, capsule toys. So there's lots of little things to do. All these little things make it feel like real life. There's that's the post. There's a day and night cycle. Certain events happen at certain times of day. There's a weather system, which is called magical weather. When this game first came out on the Dreamcast, its magical weather system was talked about with quite some praise at the time. You never know when you step out what kind of weather you're going to get. It's a wonderful story about a young man named Ryo Hazuki who studies martial arts, goes to school. One day his father is killed by a mysterious man who appears out of nowhere in 1986 Japan, and yes, kills his father. He wants a mirror off him, an object. He talks about someone that apparently your father has killed in the past, which must have been someone he knew. It seems he's seeking vengeance. Of course, Ryo has no idea of his father's past and distraught at the fact his father's been killed, and the first thing that Ryo wants to do is track down the man who killed his father. So he starts asking questions around the town. He's heard about a black car, the black car that Lan Di, the villain who killed his father, arrived in, and it sort of escalates from there. You go on a sort of detective mission to find out more and more details about how to get to this man, Lan Di, who murdered your father, so you can avenge his death. This takes you on an adventure where in the original Shenmue you talk to people in your local town. You eventually end up in a harbour where you start working as a front basically to gain information about Lan Di, who's somehow connected to something going on in this harbour. Now, I won't say any more about Shenmue 1, but Shenmue 2 takes Ryo to Hong Kong, where he continues to search for Lan Di in Hong Kong. Yes, it's a wonderful adventure, beautifully presented, beautiful music, feels epic, you care about the characters, you get very invested in the world, and I can't recommend it enough. Now, is this version worth buying if you already own the Dreamcast games, as I do, and I also own Shenmue 2 on the original Xbox as well? Yes, it is. I wasn't 100% sure if I was in any rush to get this, but it makes playing the games a lot more accessible, and well, one of the big things about it is the load times. On the Dreamcast, load times are reasonably long when you're going to different areas. In this version, they're not so long. They're very quick, actually. You can even warp from your house to certain key areas in the game, which is completely new. There's a lot of things that have been done to ease the experience, because I think newcomers coming to this game might feel like, might feel a little frustrated that the pace of the game and that they have to wait for certain events to happen. But really, my advice to you would be just enjoy the world and soak it all up. There's always things to do, people to talk to, mini games to play, and the fact you've got this like real-time system going on, it just makes the whole game more immersive. I mean, it's nothing you probably haven't already experienced, something like Grand Theft Auto or any other like open world game, but Shenmue was there reasonably early on doing this, and it's a different sort of experience. It feels more like real life. It's an odd thing, and that's I think one of the reasons why Shenmue is still so popular today, because nothing's quite done it the same way as Shenmue. So it's a very special game, I would say. Looks great in HD, so it is probably the best way to play it. Controls are fine, don't have to worry about that either. They're mapped to the PlayStation 4 controls, the only one I've used, but they're mapped very well. I imagine if you're using Xbox One controls, it's even more similar to playing it on a Dreamcast because of the way that controller's laid out, but I had no problems adjusting to playing this game on a PlayStation 4 controller. Yes, the textures look dated now. Unfortunately, that's not been an aspect anyone could fix from the game. But to be honest, you know, it's not something that's ever bothered me about the game. But yeah, if you get close up to things, the textures aren't so bad. You've not got to judge this game as a game that's just been released. This game is nearly 20 years old, and the fact it looks as good as it does still is really quite amazing. And oh yes, I don't know what else. There's plenty more to say about Shenmue. I could be here for perhaps an hour talking about this game. That's just how much I like it. I got it for £23, which I think for 2 games is incredibly reasonable, especially with all the improvements they've added to the games. I would only really have one major criticism of it, and it's unfortunately that the way the English voice acting was recorded. The quality of the sound.
I need to ask you something. I got nothing to say to you.
Sound isn't particularly good, and that is very apparent especially when playing with headphones in certain areas of the game. I've not experienced any problems with bugs like other people have and crashes. I've played this game for a good few hours now and have not experienced anything negative. If I had done, I would mention, and I can make you aware if I do experience anything like that when playing the game. But it's had several patches since it's been launched, and perhaps I've just been lucky and have been playing it after it had been patched. But yeah, it's actually quite impressive these games have come to these modern systems in such a finessed way, and this is a very quality product, especially for the money. So that's it. Woo! There we go. We'll pop it back on the shelf. We'll probably... We've actually got another video coming on Shenmue. I played it with Gareth the other day, and that will be online sometime soon. As I say, there's lots of videos coming from Blast Process at the moment, so it'll come when it comes. But hopefully pretty soon. Well, you know, there's still the buzz around the re-release of Shenmue 1 and 2. And I'm realising this has been a rather long video, but I guess the last Parry's Pickups always was going to be a long one. Now, I keep saying it's the last episode. There's a chance in the future we come back for a series 2 when maybe there's a bit more time available. But to tell you a little bit about what I'll be doing going forward is a series. It will sort of be like Parry's Pickups, but I want to take one game and focus on it a bit more. A little like what I just did with Shenmue there. 4 games is quite a lot to cover in a video, especially when I'm going into the kind of detail I like to go into when playing these games. I like to really play them, really experience them, capture the gameplay footage and show you guys what they're like. So I'm going to keep doing that. It might not necessarily be for games I've just picked up, it may be for older games I've got, but I really want to talk about games I'm passionate about, games that I think are interesting and I want to share with you guys at home. So I look forward to doing a few of them in the weeks to come. So not sure exactly when you'll be seeing the first one, but eventually it should be a semi-regular thing. Another thing I want to do is do a series on Master System games. A little bit of a more nostalgic look at some of the games of my youth. So that's really on the back burner at the moment. It's something that I want to do eventually, but at the minute I will focus on doing some more specific game reviews, like like saw that one you saw of Shenmue there. Maybe also give a little more history to the background of some of these games, and also try and cover a few more obscure titles that you might not have heard of. And I think that's it. So 100 episodes, at least 400 odd games, which is scary when I think about that, and one of the reasons why I can't keep buying so many games. I've actually been quite clever recently because, well, I say clever. I've been trying to pick up games that have been reasonably cheaper. Game Gear games and Kinect games are, you know, very affordable. So yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit more careful lately. And so if you think some of the games, I'm covering a lot of Kinect and Game Gear games, it's because I'm quite into the Game Gear at the moment and the Kinect, but also they've been a little bit cheaper. Anyway, I could waffle on forever and make this the longest episode, as it probably already is. But I just like to take this opportunity again to say thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed these videos. And I'm not going to disappear entirely. I'm just going to do different types of videos in the future. So, yeah, until I see you again for another video. It may not even be a Tom Play. It may be a Tom Plays. It may be a Spotlight On video, which is the video series I've just mentioned I'll be doing in the future, or yeah, or another Blast Process team video. So you'll see me about. I'm still doing Tom Plays every Tuesday for the foreseeable future, as far as I know. So yeah, you'll still be seeing plenty of my face if you like that kind of thing on Blast Process. So yeah, thanks again for watching these episodes, and yeah, I'm really happy with Parry's pickups for the most part. I think they definitely got better as they went on. So thanks again for watching, and until I see you again, it's goodbye and game on!